Hey, it's Carrie Joe.
Hey, it's Anna. Join us as we learn new things, challenge our assumptions, and grow as people. Welcome to the Heretical Hippies podcast.
In this season, we are going to explore the intersection of curiosity and wonder, and hopefully develop some fresh ways to see the world and ourselves. So come along for the ride, or don't. Either way, we're going to hit record.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heretical Hippies. My name's Anna, and this is Carrie Joe.
Hey, people. Happy to be here with you again.
Awesome. Today, we are going to talk about a show that has greatly influenced us and is well worth the watch, Ted Lasso. There's a scene, season 3, episode 11, that particularly stood out to us and we felt like was worthy of talking about. So we are going to play the audio from this scene. And if you have not seen Ted Lasso, first of all, highly recommend. Second of all, you don't want your viewing experience to be affected by us spoiling parts of it today on this episode. This is not the episode for you right now. Come back to this episode.
Absolutely.
Once
you've experienced it, please come back.
Go binge watch Ted Lasso and then come back and listen to this episode. So having said all that, we are going to listen to, and I don't even know if I should preface it. For all of you people out there that love Ted Lasso, you know what the show is about. If you've seen it already, you know what we're talking about. Ted is a coach that moves from the United States to England to coach a professional soccer team. And there's a lot of speculation about his ability to do that. And his process and methods are unique and different than most coaches. And he encounters a lot of problems and challenges along the way. And he gets pretty frustrated. He's left his ex-wife and his son back in the States. And he's trying to achieve his dreams in England. And so this scene is him. His mom had come to visit him. And
unannounced, I might say.
Yes.
She just showed up.
Exactly. And she is a good mom, but she also is not thinking about everything right now and everything that Ted might be going through. So this is a really heartfelt and vulnerable and honest interaction between Ted and his mom that we are going to play, and then we'll talk about.
All right, here we go.
Hello? Come take a seat. You must be starving. Congratulations on your thick win. I didn't know if you'd be in the mood for meatloaf or lasagna, so I made both.
What's wrong? Why are you here?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you got something you need to say to me, I'd appreciate if you just went ahead and said it.
Oh, stop. I just want to spend my last night in London with my son and make sure everything's all right.
Okay. Well, thank you for cooking dinner, both of them.
Oh, you're welcome.
Fuck you for not wanting to talk.
Excuse me?
Thank you for flying all the way here to come see me. And fuck you for not telling me you were coming. Thank you for all the small, silly little things you did for me as a kid, like hiding notes in my lunchbox or putting googly eyes on the fruit at the supermarket just to make me laugh. And fuck you for not working on yourself or seeking help after we lost Dad. And for not talking to me about it either. Just glossing over the whole thing and acting like everything was all right.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to do, Ted, so I pretended I was okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for the apology. And fuck you for making me think I had to pretend to.
All right, I appreciate you sharing all this with me. I just wish you hadn't carried it around for so long. And you're right, Ted, I do have something to say to you. Your son misses you.
I miss him too. It's like I'm scared. Sometimes, I get close to that little boy.
Oh, honey, why?
Because I know he's going to leave.
Oh, well, Oh, no, no, no. All right. That is the thing about being a parent. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, but most of the time you just tie. All we can do is keep playing.
Thank you.
Fuck you.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry about that. You know what? Let me make it up to you, okay? While you take a seat and I'll serve you dinner for once, okay?
What?
Come on now, cop us.
Oh.
Go on, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, this therapist must be doing you some good.
Leave her out of this. Oh, wait, here's about this. Okay, you know what? Let's start the wine.
Let's do, please.
I
Wow.
love that. It gets me every time.
I know. Gets me in the feels for sure.
Mhm.
I want to cry and laugh. And it's like the last episode we recorded, we talked about how we got to practice a lot of skills on the playing field of Christianity. And that is really life in a way. I don't want to reduce it to a game
Mhm.
entirely, right? But I think that's why sports connect with us so much, because it's a place where you can practice your skills, and life is like that. It's playing ground. It's a field of that we get to go out in and give it our best shot. And like his mom said, we will sometimes win, sometimes lose, but most of the time just tie. you know?
Yeah. That tracks with my experience so far.
Absolutely. I mean, this episode makes me want to cry every time I listen to it, because because it does not just hit home with my experience, like you said, tracking with my experience of life in general, but it also tracks with my current experience with a couple of my daughters who are saying fuck you to me right now. And some of the beautiful things about the scene that I extract is the awareness. Now, it's a show. I get it. It's not a real life situation, but it's a beautiful situation that can happen in real life if both people are aware enough to be present when genuine emotions are being expressed and not dismissive. It's a bad time, as this is something I'm learning, is that when I am encountering an experience with someone who is being emotional and expressing extreme feelings that are valid, whether I believe they're valid or not, whether I think they're accurate in their assumptions or assessment of the situation, listening and empathizing with how they feel is the best course of action in those situations. Not going logical, not talking about the details in that moment, giving and honoring the space for someone to just express themselves and the way that they need to express themselves. It builds trust.
Yeah, that's
So
a
that
beautiful way to put that. I love that outlook of, yeah, you are creating the space, you're holding that space for it to be just what it is, not trying to put lipstick on the pig or really even get down and dirty in the mud. You're just letting it exist. And it's a hard space to be in as a human with
well,
deep emotions, with deep traumas. And that's what
absolutely.
they're dealing with. They're dealing with deep emotions, deep traumas, childhood trauma for Ted. I think I love that episode, or specifically that scene in that episode so much, because at the time that I saw it, I cried and cried during and after that they did that. And it really gave me the freedom to process my experience as a Christian. Because at that point in time of my deconstruction journey, I was still trying to make sense of all of it, of the good and the bad. I mean, to this day, I'm still trying to make sense of it, but I feel like I have a better handle on it, and I'm a little more comfortable expressing it. At the time, though, I was still looking for permission. I was looking for permission to investigate tarot cards. I was looking for permission to think outside of the Christian box. And that was such a pivotal moment, the timing of that. And I wrote it down in my journal. I said, "A letter to evangelicalism." So, are you ready to share, or do you have further thoughts?
No, go for it.
Okay. So, there's a whole section that's thank you, fuck you, and there's probably twice as much of fuck you alone. Okay, so here we go. And again, this is to evangelicalism that I'm speaking. Thank you for guiding my decision to marry Stephen. Fuck you for creating a submissive dolt. I must have felt British at the time, which is kind of funny. Uh, Ted really inspired me. Thank you for driving me to serve/live in Nigeria. Fuck you for leading me to an arrogant view of God. Thank you for saving me from heartache from poor decisions. Fuck you for robbing me of exploration of myself, my intuitions, and interests. Thank you for leading to my 3 boys. Fuck you for fucking up my parenting of them. Thank you for some great friendships. Fuck you for alienating me now that I am gone. That's the end of the thank you, fuck you. I can share the fuck yous later in the podcast. I would love to hear any thoughts you have on that, Anna, reflections, and also I would love to hear your list.
I think it basically, my list goes pretty similar to yours, honestly. Thank you for giving me a playing field to express myself in a controlled environment. But fuck you for defining for me who I was in the universe. You know, thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet my husband and to build my family. And fuck you for making me think that I had any control over how any of those people turned out in life. Thank you for giving me the friendships and the connections and the experiences that I had within those boundaries. And fuck you for tainting them with expectations that were unrealistic. I am so grateful for so much and so pissed off about so much within my walk as Christianity. And I tend to, my personality, because I'm always looking for the silver lining, and it's just a coping skill that I've learned to develop over life. But I want to stay in the place of the silver lining, because that is what I get to extract and apply to life now. I want to just move forward with, like, I recognize the fuck yous, but I want to move forward with the thank you, and now I'm moving on. Right? We interviewed my friend Deva Yoder. If you haven't listened to that episode, it's worth listening to. But she once said to me, and I always really hung on to this because it made a lot of sense to me at the time that I heard it, and I think it still does today. It's like I've graduated from high school and I'm moving on to college, or I am studying abroad. And Christianity was good for what it was worth at the time in some ways. You know, I learned a lot, but there was a lot of really immature things about high school. And so thank you, Christianity, thank you, evangelicalism, for giving me a playground to express my strengths and weaknesses and to grow and mature in some ways. And fuck you for defining for me what I was supposed to look like and be. And I always kind of rebelled against that idea, like the overt definitions that a lot of evangelicals held on to. And I think you probably experienced more than I did, but it was still there. It was always there. There were a lot of expectations.
Yeah. It's clear to me as I listen to you that you and I are in very different places of our processing of our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I have double the length list of fuck yous.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and I just want to point that out, the difference in our journey to people who are listening, that it doesn't go in this order. I mean, Anna has been on this journey longer than I have, and this is where she's at right now. And I'm not there yet. I haven't experienced that attitude toward my experiences yet. But it is a healing journey, and it does take time to process the grief and the losses and all the negative things that you've experienced. So I just want to normalize that on the other side of the speaker, because it can feel prescriptive. As you hear people's stories, it can feel like, oh, I should be doing this, then this, then this. Maybe not in that order, but that's what it should look like. It's not necessarily going to look like my journey or Anna's journey or anyone else that you hear us interview. But we do want to point out that there are similarities in the fact that we've experienced similar things. And you're not alone in questioning. You're not alone in having an attitude of fuck you. You're not alone in wanting to stay in the arena of silver lining. You're just not alone. So I just want to reiterate that as we process deeply and honestly very vulnerably this thank you, fuck you exercise. It was a very vulnerable thing for me to do, because at that phase in my journey, when I wrote this maybe a year or more ago. To clarify, I would probably add more things to it now if I were to revise it. But at that time, I was not approaching things with a fuck you attitude. That just wasn't in my vocabulary, literally, yet. And it gave me permission to do so. And that was such a powerful step of healing for me. And I think that's why I was so moved by it, because I felt that permission granted. And so all that being said, I'll continue with my fuck you list. And then we'll see where it goes from there. So again, I'm speaking to evangelicalism. Fuck you for filling my mind with utter trash. Fuck you for creating a God that is an asshole. Fuck you for robbing me of my unique/cool personality. Fuck you for stunting my growth. Fuck you for limiting me in so many ways. Fuck you for your oppression. Fuck you for your racism and misogyny. Fuck you for minimizing me. Fuck you for the concept of hell. Fuck you for creating monsters in the pulpits. Fuck you for the penal substitutionary atonement theory, aka the gospel. Fuck you for creating an abusive system that creates scenarios where abusers are defended and victims created. Fuck you for shoving God in a box. Fuck you for minimizing other religions. Fuck you for creating superior-minded lemmings. Fuck you for spewing hate. Fuck you for the division you create. Fuck you for the trauma you've caused. Fuck you for warping my mind. Fuck you for creating impossible standards. Fuck you for making life difficult because of the impossible standards. Fuck you for purity culture. Fuck you for taking my voice.
I can relate to all that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry that you can relate to all of that. But there is a through line. There is a common thread in people who have deconstructed that when they look back at their experience and they allow themselves to identify negative things, a lot of things overlap in people's experiences. And God damn it, it's so heavy. I like the vibe between us right now is so heavy. And not in like, you know, like a it's your fault or my fault kind of way. It's just like the topic and the profundity of what we're processing is life altering. I just think it was a great exercise to revisit for me. And I read through it. I wasn't going to read through my list because I wrote it so long ago. I was like, I'm going to make a new list. But then I was struggling coming up with a new list because the things I was coming up with, I was like, I'm pretty sure that was on my other list.
Yeah.
And I didn't read it like until I felt like I just finally couldn't come up with anything new. And then I read it again and I was like, I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe I'd add one or two things on the fuck you. Maybe I'd add one thing on the thank you, fuck you portion, but it all remains consistent.
Yeah, it is heavy.
We don't do it as well as Lasso because like he can make anything feel super heavy and then super jokey the next second. And again, that's why we love the show.
Yeah.
We can't offer that to you here, folks.
Well, I think we can. I think we can. Maybe not in the same with not the same skill level of comedic timing, but we're definitely I
We'll
think
try.
can. We'll try. Yeah. Um and listening to that list, it also makes me wonder how much of that exposure to those things to my children has played a part in their own understanding of who I am and who we are and who they are and their own narrative. And it breaks my heart, really. Like, I can handle it. Kind of wish I'd protected my kids differently. I thought I was protecting them. I was so passionate about and so eager to do things the right way, whatever that is, right? We know that's much more subjective now than it ever was before when I was in Christianity. And I really, really believed that I could be a mom that would raise amazing children if I stuck to a certain formula.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave myself a lot of like leeway. Like my version of that was unique to me because of my personality and in my own experiences in life, right? And everybody's going to play that out differently because of those things. But Christianity heavily influenced what I expected. And I did push purity culture on my kids. I did push the creationist narrative on my kids. I did rob them to some degree of the science, current day science, you know?
I resonate with every single one of those things.
Yeah.
The same words could have come out of my mouth.
Mm.
I would add to it hell.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard one. Yeah. And so when I listened to Ted Lasso and his mom talk, I came to it with our original intention is to think of this conversation between us and Christianity rather than a mom and a son. But it was impossible for me to genuinely dive into that perspective because what's even more important to me and what's in my face even more right now is my relationship dynamic between my two daughters. And so I was strongly desiring, as I listened to Ted talking to his mom, I listened to my daughters talking to me. You know, there's generational differences here. Like his mom learned to do things a certain way. She's always done it a certain way, you know? And so when her husband died, she didn't know what to do. Whereas like when we were growing up, therapy was for people who had depression or had mental health issues. Like it wasn't for everybody. But now it's for everybody. Everybody needs therapy. And Ted is like basically telling his mom, like, why didn't you get help? You know? And she was like, I didn't know. But see, Ted left room for her to not know. Ted left room for her to be where she's at, but he also needed her to know that it hurt him in his process, that she expected him to follow suit and do the same thing, just pretend it didn't happen, you know? And I'm not relating to the specifics within their story as much as I am the generational differences and the obvious differences in how we were raised and our expectations. And then also leaving space for each other. It's what I desire more than anything is that my daughters would find it in their hearts and minds to know how to leave space for me to be where I'm at and to recognize my strong innate desire to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Of course, you're going to think of it from whatever context you're coming from in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was pissed at the church, at evangelicalism.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to come out of anger either. I mean, Ted is kind of expressing anger, and I was expressing anger, but I don't know that it has to come from anger. It could just be frustration or a curiosity, you know, like, well, why? Why wouldn't you have done it this way? Maybe like a disagreement with certain methods. It could be anything. So
as the listener, you can apply this to anything in your life, this exercise of thank you, fuck you. If you don't want to be, spicy, it can be thank you, screw you, whatever. Pick your
Right.
comfort level and go with it. But I love that it can actually be applied to anything you kind of have a mixed bag of emotions with. And for me personally, when I went through that exercise, I remember I felt so much lighter. I felt like I was given an opportunity to say my piece. It wasn't met with criticism or defensiveness because there was literally no one there.
Right.
But it was just the mere fact of imagining speaking it to this system, this very harmful experience I'd had. Abusive, honestly, abusive experience. To be able to speak that to my abuser. That was therapeutic. And I also love at the end where his mom is like, "Oh, that therapist is really something else.
Right.
She's really doing you good." And I just think like, yeah, like his work with her gave him the courage to address those things head on with his mom.
Yeah.
And hopefully that whole scene that we shared, I encourage you to watch it because it's just, like the facial expressions, the hurt on the faces. It's so powerful. The laughter, all the stuff.
Right. I think there's something I wanted to share about that. Did I interrupt your thought?
Yeah, please, because I lost my train of thought and I don't remember where I went down that road.
I love at the end when she says, fuck you.
Yeah, because you're not expecting it out of that lady's mouth.
Right. But also, I think that she could have built her own list against Ted. Like, thank you for, I don't know, being a good dad, but fuck you for leaving your son in the United States. I'm sure she could have built her own list of thank you, fuck you. But in that moment, she let that be Ted's. And then she jokingly just says, fuck you, right? Because he didn't expect it and she knew it'd make him laugh, right? But
yeah, that's amazing.
But it also, like you said, it would bring levity to the situation. And then he immediately was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because he knows how intense he was in the moment, like how deeply he felt in that moment. And he was expressing it in a really strong way. And yeah, there was just a lightness to him after he expressed it.
Yeah, and I think it's not only a good exercise to make the list, but to me it felt like a conversation starter in the episode.
Right.
That you didn't hear that conversation, but it felt like a springboard to move forward from.
Right.
And that is how I experienced it when I made my own list. It wasn't like I wrote that list and I was done processing my grief. Clearly, have you been around a while? Like, are you hearing the saltiness in my voice? But it really, it gave me that permission to actually consider the bullshit that I experienced. And every time I talk more about it, it peels off another layer of that hurt. And at some point, I'm going to get to the core of all of that grief and loss. And I'm going to be able to just shed a lot of that negativity bias that I have and probably see things from a little different angle. I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. And it's like repetition. You lift weights, you do reps, and you get stronger with each one. And that's kind of how I see this journey of healing, that every time I process grief, it's another rep in the set. And I'm going to be stronger at the end of it for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like instead of looking at it just an exercise, the be all end all, if you, as you do it, listener, consider it just what kind of conversation is this going to open up, either between me and Christianity, me and my parents, me and my kid, whatever, me and my partner. I don't know. It's a conversation starter.
Well, and it's only a conversation starter if the other party is like, obviously, and within the Christianity situation, we don't have it's not another party. We're just able to process, and that in and of itself is healthy and valuable. But within the conversation aspect of having it with another person, you both have to be at the right place, and I think that's the beauty of this conversation, right? With his Ted and his mom, is that they were both, once again, I started this and I'm coming back to it. It's like they were both aware enough that the conversation needed to happen, that they needed to listen to the feelings. And it's important to remember, and this is something I'm learning in my own therapy, is that when the strong emotions are being shared, it's not the time for logic. It's not the time to hash out what he said, she said, they did this, they did that. It's not the time to try to do that kind of stuff. it's the time to listen and empathize, even if you disagree.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to remove defensiveness.
Absolutely.
But it's a worthwhile practice.
If you want to see the process of healing in multiple steps, look at it as just one step that will build trust and hopefully enable you to move on to have in different timing and different ways express other feelings and thoughts about it's not the end all be all. Like obviously Ted said fuck you to his mom like 10 times, right? But it doesn't mean he hates her. It doesn't
Clearly
mean that
he doesn't.
Right. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to be in a relationship with her. It just means he needs to be able to get this out.
Yeah.
And he did, and he felt better.
And that reminds me that I just want to say this because I feel like this attitude is definitely encouraged within Christianity to avoid conflict. And conflict avoidance is not keeping peace.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the same thing.
Right.
Conflict avoidance is avoidance. It's literally in the name.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping peace is exactly, or pursuing peace rather, is exactly what you see Ted and his mom do.
Right.
That might not seem peaceful. It certainly doesn't sound peaceful when you're listening to that back and forth. But that's how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage that. Like, think about conflict or having a beef with somebody or something a little differently. Frame it up in a different way, that you're not to avoid confrontation. That's not a healthy way to deal with this stuff.
Right.
And I'm not a therapist. I have my own. I am not one, but consider getting into therapy. I mean, that's another thing that I love about that scene. He highly values therapy. He thought it was bullshit at the beginning of his journey.
Right.
But he obviously is growing from it. And his mom even says it and acknowledges the help that he's finding. So I just want to, like, again, point out, if you are struggling with these things, kind of feeling stuck in a place where you're not able to really go any further with your grief or frustration, find a therapist.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put a link in the show notes. It was actually something shared with us from somebody we interviewed, and it's very helpful. And so we'll put that. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Psychology Today.
There you go. Psychology Today. And
that's how I found my therapist.
Look at that. We've got a like walking billboard right here.
Actually, it was right after that episode. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And we found our own therapist. So we've been seeing her regularly ever since.
That is
it's been awesome.
That is so awesome. I love that because this is like a high note. We need to end on a high note because we were down in the depths of like real heavy shit. And now we're finding the silver lining. We are dancing on that silver lining right now. So we will leave that for you to check out. And there's no shame in it. Any kind of stigma that you have associated with therapy, would you just please chuck that out the window? You are a stronger person and a better person for seeking it out. So don't feel shy or shamed because you can't handle your shit, because nobody can. Spoiler alert.
So we know there's other, apps and websites like BetterHelp and things like that will give you like, you'll be able to get therapy from home, right? Which is awesome. We're not endorsed by any of those companies. We don't make any money on this, right? But,
no, this is just personal experience we're sharing.
Yeah. So, but Psychology Today is a real, like, for me personally, I prefer face-to-face contact with, like, I want to be in the same room with my therapist most of the time. Like every once in a while, if I'm sick or if I just am urgent or something like that, I can do it from home. We drive 45-ish minutes to go see our therapist. We like her that much. I've been to a few therapists close by to my house. I didn't click with them. It wasn't a good vibe. And I love this therapist. I'm willing to drive to go see her. But she also has at-home therapy too. So if you find somebody that you like to see, you can do both with them. And also the Psychology Today app, there's like, you can put in the filters there's a lot of filters. Like if you want a female or a male, or if you want someone who is religious or non-religious, or it has your specific insurance, or, you can put all kinds of filters. And then even in your area as well, you can put your zip and it'll bring up, however many people in your area fit that requirement. And it was really, really helpful for us.
Yeah. Very useful tool.
So yeah, I think that's a good place to end, don't you think?
It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Maybe we should G-rate our closing because we dropped so many F-bombs in the episode.
Okay.
I'm going to G-rate mine.
Okay.
Ready?
You go first.
I was just going to say, peace out, mother frickers.
I was going to say, peace out, my friends.
Oh, that's even better. Okay, we'll do yours. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Peace out, my friends. That felt so weird coming out of my mouth.
It sounded so G-rated.
That's so funny.
Hey, if you made it this far, damn, you're a rock star. Thank you so much for listening to us, and let us know who you are. We want to hear from your sweet little face.
Check back in for the next episode to experience more hippie nonsense, talk more heresy, and share more laughs.